Super fights are the currency of MMA hype. They're the moments where timelines collide, where legacies hang in the balance, and where the UFC briefly feels bigger than just another fight card. Two megastars, one cage, history on the line. And yet, for every super fight we actually got, there are just as many that slipped through the cracks. Bad timing, injuries, politics, ego, money, sometimes all of it at once. These are the UFC super fights that were right there, within reach, but never became real. The most painful recent one starts at heavyweight with Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall. This was greatness versus inevitability. Jones, the most accomplished fighter the sport has ever seen, against Aspinall, the fastest, sharpest heavyweight of the modern era. When Aspinall first got injured against Curtis Blaydes, the timing wasn't right. He wasn't established yet. But then he came back, destroyed contenders, flattened Sergey Pavlovich for the interim belt, and erased Blaydes in under a minute. At that point, the fight was unavoidable, except it never happened. Instead, the division stalled. Fans watched Jones defend against an aging Stipe Miocic while Aspinall sat there as the most dangerous unanswered question in the UFC. This wasn't just a missed fight, it was the ultimate test Jones never took. Prime heavyweight Jones versus a surging Aspinall would have defined an era. Instead, it became the biggest what-if of modern heavyweight history. Another modern super fight that slipped away was Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria. This one felt inevitable for a moment, pound-for-pound dominance versus unstoppable momentum. Makhachev had cleared out lightweight with control, submissions, and improved striking. Topuria was starching elite names with terrifying precision. Same victims, same division, different paths to dominance. It was the purest form of best versus best, but timing killed it. Makhachev's move toward welterweight shifted everything, and the window quietly closed. What made this fight special is that it had no obvious answer. Grappling versus power, pressure versus patience, a super fight built entirely on uncertainty. The fact we never got it feels like a robbery against the sport itself. Flyweight has its own all-time lost classic with Alexandre Pantoja and Demetrius Johnson. This one hurts because it was so clean conceptually. The greatest flyweight ever versus the greatest flyweight of the next generation. Johnson defined skill in MMA. Pantoja defined dominance in a shallow but evolving division. Pantoja cleared contenders, beat everyone available, and even called for Johnson directly. Fans wanted it. The division needed it. But Johnson was done. Legacy secured. Nothing left to prove. Sometimes the reason a super fight doesn't happen is simple. One guy just doesn't need it anymore. Still, imagining Johnson's mastery against Pantoja's pressure feels like one of the most elegant fights the sport never saw. Going back a bit, heavyweight fans were robbed of a true monster matchup with Francis Ngannou and Jon Jones. This was raw force versus calculated destruction. Ngannou at his peak carried the most frightening power the UFC has ever seen. Jones, moving up after ruling light heavyweight, represented technical supremacy. The timing lined up perfectly on paper, but reality never cooperated. Contract disputes, money demands, and hesitation stalled everything until Ngannou walked away, and only then did Jones return to claim the belt against a different opponent. This fight wasn't just about titles, it was about whether power could finally overwhelm precision, whether anyone could truly threaten Jon Jones physically. We'll never know. If you made it this far, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell me your thoughts in the comments below. And the like goal for this video is 100 likes. Now, let's continue with the video. Then there's the cultural explosion that never happened. Conor McGregor versus Jorge Masvidal. This wasn't just a fight, it was a pop culture event waiting to happen. Two personalities built for chaos, two trash talkers who thrived in the spotlight. Masvidal was peaking, coming off viral knockouts in the BMF run. McGregor was still the biggest star in the sport. Timing, matchmaking choices, and the pandemic all chipped away at the moment until it vanished. If this fight had happened at the right time, it might have broken records. Instead, it lives on as a reminder that momentum in MMA is fragile, and once it's gone, it rarely comes back. Some missed Superfights hurt because of timing. One of the biggest of those is Georges St. Pierre versus Anderson Silva. This wasn't just champion versus champion, this was the sport's two cleanest legacies circling each other for years without ever colliding. Silva was artistry, fluidity, and intimidation at middleweight. GSP was discipline, preparation, and near-perfect execution at welterweight. Every time one of them fought, the conversation restarted. Who's really the greatest? But the timing never lined up. Weight class politics, injuries, and both men being cautious with legacy kept it theoretical. The cruel part is that stylistically, it was fascinating. Silva's creativity against GSP's suffocating control, a chess match disguised as a fight. Instead of clarity, we got debates that still haven't ended. Another missed super fight that vanished quietly was Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Tony Ferguson. This one doesn't even feel like a what-if anymore. It feels cursed. 5 bookings, 5 cancellations. Every time it was announced, something went wrong. Injuries, weight cuts, pandemics, you name it. What made this fight special wasn't just the matchup, it was the contrast and chaos. Khabib was relentless structure, pressure that broke people mentally. Tony was wild, unpredictable, and impossible to discourage. For years, fans believed this was the real lightweight title fight, regardless of who held the belt. By the time it was finally possible again, Tony's prime had slipped away. The window closed without warning, and MMA lost one of its most anticipated clashes ever. Light heavyweight has its own ghost fight with Daniel Cormier and Brock Lesnar. At the time, this was the ultimate crossover spectacle, the UFC's most dominant champion calling out WWE's biggest combat sports draw. Size versus skill, strength versus experience. DC even called him out in the cage, and for a moment, it felt real. But failed drug tests, contract issues, and Lesnar's limited availability killed the dream. This fight could have shattered pay-per-view records and changed how crossover fights were viewed in MMA. Instead, it became a reminder that hype doesn't always survive logistics. Jon Jones versus Israel Adesanya was one of those rare moments where two dominant champions existed at the same time in neighboring divisions, both at their peak. Adesanya was untouchable at middleweight, dismantling challengers with surgical striking. Jones was still ruling light heavyweight, winning while barely breaking a sweat. The hype built naturally. Fans debated endlessly. Style versus style, range versus wrestling, precision versus control. But when Adesanya finally moved up, the timing was off. Jones had already vacated. Adesanya lost at light heavyweight and the mystique disappeared overnight. The super fight died not because it couldn't happen, but because it waited too long. Then there was Jose Aldo versus Dominic Cruz. WEC kings turned UFC champions. Speed versus power, footwork versus ferocity. Injuries stole Cruz's momentum, and when he returned, the landscape had changed. Aldo lost his crown. The moment passed. And sometimes the biggest fights don't fail because fighters aren't ready. They fail because the moment doesn't wait. If you made it this far, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more MMA videos and documentaries, and tell me your thoughts in the comments below.